Neptune! And all the reasons why we should study it more, and why it's my favorite planet, and why it's a really cool planet. By me, Erica L. So, the reason why we know all these things about Neptune, or at least the little things we do know, is because of one other planet, the funky one with the funky tilt, Uranus. So, the discovery of Uranus was a big new discovery because it was a new planet, and astronomers were very excited to see that they could chart a new planet and its orbit. However, astronomers ran into a big problem because when they predicted where they thought Uranus would show up in the sky, it was a lot different from what they expected. So something was definitely wrong and they just didn't know what. The error was 1/4 of an arc minute, which was too large for an observational error. They struggled to find an elliptical orbit that fit their measurements, which really frustrated them. I mean, look at all the math they had to do. Finally, astronomers concluded that there had to be another body exerting gravitational force on Uranus, which basically meant that they had discovered that there was another planet beyond the orbit of Uranus affecting its orbit. In September 1845, John Adams predicted the existence of Neptune, and in June 1846, Urbain Le Verrier, a French mathematician, came to the same answer. German astronomer Johann Galle searched in the Berlin Observatory and found Neptune in September 1846. This made Neptune the first planet in our solar system to be discovered through mathematical deductions rather than by empirical observation. Now, looking more closely into Neptune, we find that the distance from Neptune and the Sun is 30 AU, or 30 astronomical units. We now also know that the orbital period is 163.7 Earth years, which basically means it takes that long to orbit the Earth once. Maybe the most shocking and interesting fact is the fact that the rotational period is just 16 hours. How crazy is that? That's so fast. One of the coolest things about Neptune is the fact that it has multicolored cloud bands, which I tried to represent in my drawings. And the planet itself has lots of light bluish hues, and it's often called the blue-tinted Jupiter. Now, looking at the atmospheric composition, we now know that about 84% is hydrogen, 14% is helium, and 3% is methane, which is more than Uranus. Methane is actually the thing that makes the planet more blue, so that's why Neptune is bluer than Uranus. As we move further and further away from the Sun, we find that planets have decreasing amounts of ammonia and more amounts of methane. Ammonia gases freeze at 70 K, and Neptune is about 59 K, so there is little or no gaseous ammonia in the atmosphere. As mentioned before, the thing that makes the planet blue is methane. It absorbs the red light, so that sunlight reflected from the planet's atmosphere is low in red and yellow photons and appears blue, so the reflected light is bluer. Neptune and Uranus are often compared in similarities and differences. One of the differences is that the upper atmosphere of Neptune is warmer than Uranus. So basically, Neptune is the hotter planet than Uranus. Neptune also has its own internal energy source, unlike Uranus, and it radiates 2.7 times more heat than it receives from the Sun. Perhaps the excess methane insulates the planet. There are several storms raging on Neptune, and one of the commonly known ones was the Great Dark Spot, which was discovered by the Voyager 2 in 1989. It was about the size of Earth near the equator, and the flow around it was counterclockwise. It disappeared in 1994, but other storms have started up since. Neptunian weather changes in as little as a few rotation periods, and winds blow at speeds greater than 1,500 kilometers per hour. The real question is, the weather system is far from the Sun. If it's so cold, how is it so active? Neptune has 8 moons. 2 of the moons are medium-sized, while the rest of the 6 are very small. Their orbits are very irregular, and they actually follow the type of orbits of an atom, like an atom symbol. One of the moons that you will most likely study, or that most people study, is the moon Triton. The terrain is very interesting because it has a cantaloupe side and there are no craters, meaning that it is an active moon. The Voyager 2 did a flyby of Triton when it flew by the planet Neptune. It has frozen lakes of water ice and liquid nitrogen geysers. The atmosphere is very thin. Learning about the moons of Neptune is an important part of learning about the planet because we learn about our moon too, don't we? The naming of Neptune is one that had a lot of controversy, and it's actually quite confusing. So after the discovery of Neptune, a lot of people refer to the planet as the planet exterior to Uranus, or Leverrier's planet, because Leverrier was one of the people who first discovered the planet. He claims that he had the right of naming the planet because he discovered it. So he proposed the name Neptune, and he actually lied and said that the Bureau approved of this name of Neptune. Later, he decided that he just wanted to name it after himself, so he claimed that it should be named Leverrier. He was French, so people outside of France didn't like this idea at all. They hated it, and they just disregarded this aspect altogether. So, at the St. Petersburg Academy of Science, when they started calling the planet Neptune, it became internationally accepted that the planet would be called Neptune instead of Leverrier. The demand for planets to be named with a mythological name was very high. So Neptune is actually the Roman god of the sea, which is the counterpart for the Greek god Poseidon of the sea. It has been internationally recognized that Neptune is, I guess, a sea king star. At least that's how it's directly translated in languages such as Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. So why study Neptune, you might ask? I mean, when you look at our textbook, you can see that Neptune doesn't even have its own chapter. It's combined with Uranus. Uranus and Neptune are 2 of the planets that, I guess, didn't catch the public's attention as much because it doesn't have a lot in common with the Earth. But why should we study it then? Well, for me, Neptune is my favorite planet. First of all, aesthetically, I think it's one of the most beautiful planets. Looking at the cloud bands and the different colors that swirl around in the storms that are currently raging on the planet is just beautiful, and it's something that I think people can all relate to when they look up at the sky. And, well, I guess not really, because Galileo could probably see it only with a telescope if he could see it at all. Also, we don't know enough about the planet. We know very little that the chapter in the textbook is so short. If we want to learn more, we do need to do more research, and I think it's only right that we have more projects going on about Neptune and maybe even Uranus too, because I guess on our way to Neptune we'd have to look at Uranus as well. We have a right to the knowledge of the planets in our outer solar system, and I think we just don't know enough about Neptune right now. We barely know what's in the atmosphere, what's to hold in the planet, and we know very little about the things around the planet as well. Neptune, being the most outer planet in our solar system, holds many secrets that we still need to unlock today. Astronomy holds many questions and answers that need to be discovered and researched in the future. We know so little about what's out there that we need more astronomers and more people looking up at the sky and doing more research. Learning about planets like Neptune really get me excited, and I just hope that I can see more pictures and learn more about these outer planets in the future. And now we can look up at the sky and see all the stars, the planets, and the moon. Just kidding, no we can't. It's too cloudy, you can't see anything right now. We can't even see the moon. But hey, even if you could see anything, you'd probably need a telescope. But I guess using these astronomical materials makes astronomy that much more fun, doesn't it? And kudos to me for acting like Neil deGrasse Tyson on Cosmos minus all the cool effects, because I'm just looking at my front yard and it's cloudy and you can't see anything, so it's not as cool, but I pretended that I was like that astronomer and everything. Yay me. Bye!